whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
And Jamie's got the right idea with this menacing lighting she has in her background. That's a great Halloween sound. Absolutely. Because today we are talking about the ultimate gaslighting experience, the 1968 American psychological horror film, and my pick as one of my faves for the holiday season, Rosemary's Baby. Wow, wow, wow. I don't know. That was my baby crying noise.
Didn't like the baby.
Yes, well, Brian can, you can put in some baby effects.
Some real
I'm
babies.
Over my
I'm
baby
not going
sound.
to because I think you nailed it.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, I didn't like that at all.
Very apropos. Beautiful. So Rosemary's Baby was directed by Roman Polanski, and this movie stars Mia Farrow, John Cassavetes, Ruth Gordon, Sidney Blackmer, Maurice Evans, Ralph Bellamy, Patsy Kelly, Angela Dorian, Clay Tanner, and Charles Grodin. There's so many people. I probably didn't need to name all of them, but they're all a part of the coven. So
It's
that's
also
where that
John
is.
Cassavetes.
What? Cassavetes. Okay.
Yeah. So
Maybe I'm thinking
he.
of the name of in the movie.
Oh yeah. Well,
Guy.
it's funny
Name from the
when I
movie is
was watching
Cassavetes.
it. Those are like weirdly close. But fun
Yes.
fact: John Cassavetes' son, I believe his name is Nick, is a director and directed The Notebook. And John Cassavetes was married to Gina Rollins, and that's her son as well. And she was obviously starred in The Notebook as the older version of Rachel McAdams.
Okay.
Fun fact.
On Hollywood, hierarchy, nepotism, whatever you want to call it.
That is also just the line between Rosemary's Baby and The Notebook is enough.
Yeah.
Connection. For me. I also just have to point out that as much as I love this movie, I did not realize that Roman Polanski directed this movie.
Mm,
And in my recents with the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I was familiar with all the Sharon Tate stuff, but just in watching the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie, really diving into everything that happened.
hmm
And also this movie came out in 68, and everything that happened with Roman Polanski's wife Sharon Tate happened the next year, which is really kind of spooky if you think about it. But it was just really crazy and wild to see that he directed this movie. But
Yeah.
obviously,
He's also a creeper. He's a disgusting man. And I mean, I guess it would take a disgusting man to make a movie
Make
like
this
this.
movie.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to get that out of the way as the producer.
Yes.
Yep.
We are anti-Roman Polanski on this podcast, but we do
We
like
are.
this movie, and maybe we'll get into a little bit of how do you separate the art from the artist.
That's a great question. Yes.
Yeah.
So obviously heavy spoilers for Rosemary's Baby, and Jamie, tell us all the trigger warnings that are in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, gonna come in hot. There is a in-depth sexual assault scene that you witness. There and yeah, and they reference it a few times too. There is a lot. This takes place during Satanic Panic, so there's a lot of references to Satan and witches and witchcraft. There is references to like a stillborn. I mean, this is like not if any kind of like maternal trauma sets you off, triggers you, this is absolutely not the film for you. Just a lot of terrible, terrible things happening around pregnancy. Probably it explains a lot of my own anxiety
Fair.
around babies and having
Absolutely.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, there's also some poisoning, like uh what's it called, like drugging people's food,
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
and then references to untimely deaths as well as a suicide. So all of these things, there's a lot of trigger warnings in this, honestly. So yeah, please be aware before you decide to dive into this.
Yes, it's pretty graphic and gory. So, yes, if those things are not appealing to you, what Jamie said, just have a slight little pass. But overall, it is a good watch if you can stomach some of those trigger warnings. Before we get into everything that is Rosemary's Baby, Brian, do you have some words for us?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. Producer Brian here. We're just getting into this Halloween spirit. No,
Yeah.
essentially, follow us, not just here. You can follow us on social media at Talk Horror Pod, and that is wherever you are on social media. So we're on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are on TikTok. I'll be totally upfront and honest with you. Instagram and TikTok is where it's at. Twitter,
Hmm.
that's not our thing right now, but those two are where we're making things happen. So follow us at Talk Horror Pod, and we want to hear movies that you would love to see us do. So you want that breakdown, that brains breakdown. We're happy to do that for you and
Hmm.
talk about our likes and gripes. So let us know in any social media. I'm watching them, and we'll definitely take those suggestions. So thanks so much for following us. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Yes, thank
you.
you. Now we got to do a 2-minute plot summary, and I'm assuming I will take the reins since this is the movie that I chose as my Halloween favorite. But I have to tell you guys, today I went to the movie theaters and I saw Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
wow.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it was an experience. Me and some of my castmates, we went to the local Alamo Draft House because we had to
nice.
do it up, get a
So
full
jealous.
food menu, drinks, lounging chair experience, and we watched this movie. And I will say, it fed my slasher love,
Mm,
and it is also very time capsule, and I'm
Mm,
explaining this terribly, but this is a movie that when you watch it, you will know exactly what year it
mm,
is, the generation that it surrounds, because it definitely feeds into the Gen Z ness of teenagers, partying and doing the things, but a lot of emphasis on technology, a lot of emphasis on how the culture is as far as being woke and being politically correct, and also discussing mental health and all of those things. So that's something that I did appreciate about the movie. But it's definitely, your basic slasher movie. And I'm glad that
mm,
these are still, coming out. For me, it wasn't life changing, but it's something that if other younger people are getting into horror, I feel like this will be their nostalgic moment when they get older.
sure,
So it's nice to see kind of the transition and the introduction into younger people, because we talked about movies like Scream, and that already has a built-in audience and it brings in new people with the
sure,
younger actors, so you have those things melding. But this is absolutely for the younger uh, audience,
mm.
and they feed into that, and I think that that's beautiful because the, you know they need a place for that, just like we had our place with that. Not like we're 50, 60, 70 years old, but it's
I'm
nice
so
to see
old.
that.
You remember when we saw
Right.
Urban Legend in movie theaters?
Because that's how I felt. I was watching this and just thinking to myself, oh yeah, this is for high schoolers.
Did you like
this
it?
I did. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it fed my slasher love of it.
Mm,
But I think that I am definitely, because I am older than those people, it's some of their characteristics were annoying because it was just young people doing dumb young things in our in- technologically advanced world now, but I feel the same when I was younger watching Scream and people making dumb decisions. It's the same thing,
Sure.
but it's different because when I was watching Scream, I was at a younger age, and now watching this, I do kind of feel like the grumpy older person. I was like, what the hell are y'all doing? But it's still funny, and the acting, the performances were fantastic.
That's
Everyone
good.
was acting their asses off. It was believable, and the if you walked into any high school now and saw how kids are interacting, that's what this movie was. And
Mm.
again, that feeds into me being old and being like, oh my God, yeah, I'm why would I ever be in a room with all these kids filming all these like dance TikToks for no fucking reason, like this is wild and crazy. But I definitely think it's something that y'all should go and watch, and
Cool.
maybe we should do on the podcast maybe one day. But I enjoyed my time, and it was a good time in the movie theater too to watch it with other people and experience that. So
Well,
yeah.
Jamie and I also went to the movies today.
Ew.
Jamie, what did we see?
We saw dun 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 we
The
saw
OG?
Jaws
In
Yes.
in
3D.
3D.
Jaws in 3D. I love that. Yes. How was it?
It was
It was
perfect.
super fun. It
Perfect.
okay, this is like very embarrassing to admit out loud. However, I had missed the
Yes, go ahead.
first 8 minutes of this film. I literally
Why?
never watched by accident. So like the
Oh,
only
okay.
reason I watched it was because it was on TV and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh yeah, I'll put it on." I've never actually seen Jaws. And I it was 8 minutes in, and I was like, I'm not I don't want to like not watch the whole thing just because I missed these 8 minutes. So I literally watched the
Mm,
rest of the movie because it was on TV and I just never saw those first few minutes. But
love it.
glad I did. They were a good 8 minutes. And it was really fun. It was a lot of fun. It was good quality too for being 3D.
Oh, amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
was the theater just doing kind of a night of older movies and said, yeah, here's Jaws 3D?
I assume it was because it's Labor Day weekend that they were doing like a
Oh,
summer, like end of summer uh, related type of event in theaters, bringing it back. But I could be
that
Yeah.
makes
wrong.
sense.
No, that's right. They re-released it in IMAX and in 3D. They restored it a little bit, and it was crisp. It was beautiful. The 3D was not distracting at all. Especially,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Spielberg's cinematography and his like the framing of all of it is just so beautiful. And like he already has these things in the foreground and the background, and the
Mm-hmm.
way that he uses the focus in these, like it actually lended itself well to it without being like this like kitschy thing, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah.
it
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily add anything to the movie, but it didn't take away anything. What I mean, it's my favorite movie. It's one of my favorite movies. Like I
It's
just
a
had a
monster.
blast. It's
Monster
so
movie.
good. It's my favorite horror movie. It's an animal attack movie.
And
It's the
the jump scares still hold up.
Nice.
yeah,
Oh, that's
It was
good.
spooky.
Yes. I love that.
so
I
good.
actually don't, I need to also watch it all the way through because I definitely have not watched Jaws all the way through. But
So
that's awesome.
both sad and happy that I'm getting you to do these things.
Yes. Monster Squad, Jaws, is all the things. It's going to be a great
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
All
Well,
right.
let's get into it.
Plot summary. Activate. Okay.
What's the plot?
So let me. I opened up the calculator by accident. Uh.
Yeah, you could just count one
Okay.
by plus one
One,
plus one
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
plus one, plus one.
Ready.
Mhm.
Plot summary. Go.
Okay, we are in the 1960s in New York, and oh my gosh, those apartments are so big and amazing. How much do they cost? Because it's an actor and a woman who doesn't do anything. How are you paying for this apartment? So we have Guy and Rosemary. They move into this apartment. Guy is an actor trying to do the things, and they want to have a baby. And so they also have these neighbors that are really kooky older people that are all in their business. And so one night they go to the older people's apartment for a dinner. And when they come back, Guy and Rosemary try to have a baby. They find out that she's pregnant, and so now she's just trying to go to the doctor, do the things, and the older couple says, "Oh no, you should go to this doctor because he is the best." And she says, "Okay, cool." I also forgot the point that she met somebody else who was living with the elderly couple, and then that woman committed suicide, and that was really crazy and kooky. The elder couple gives Rosemary this necklace. It says it's good luck, and she keeps it because somebody died in her building, and so she wants good luck. And now, eventually, she finds out that she's not getting any bigger. She's actually feeling very sick, and she's asking the doctor what's going on, and he said pains are normal. It's fine. She gets all of these little herbs and stuff from the elderly family that lives next door.
30 seconds.
Oh my god. And so she thinks that everything is going crazy, and her husband is saying no, everything is fine. And then eventually she kind of gets better, and she eventually finds out that the older couple might be satanic panic people and wants her baby for a sacrifice. And so her husband's saying no, you're making it up. And eventually she finds out that she's right, and she has the baby, and the baby is actually Satan. That went by
Yay!
so fast, it felt like it was only a minute.
And that's the plot.
Well, you talked a lot about New York real estate.
I mean, you
So,
have to.
yeah,
It's that apartment. Really? That apartment was gorgeous.
Yeah,
And
it
he
was nuts.
only is an actor that's been in 2 plays and a couple of commercials, and you can pay for that? Wow. The 60s, man.
fun fact, the exterior of that building is the Dakota in New York.
Ooh.
Famous because it's right on Central Park, also infamous because that's where John Lennon lived and was shot and killed.
Ah.
But yeah, when that opened up at the beginning, I was like, that is the Dakota. And then I looked on the internet and it said, "You're right, Brian."
Just like that. Siri's voice sounds just like that.
Yeah, 100%.
Crazy.
Wild.
Wild. So obviously I've seen this movie before, but Jamie, have you seen this? Yes.
Yes, I have.
It's your favorite.
I watched this in high school
Oh,
for the
wow.
first time. Yeah. And this was the reason why this is my favorite horror movie for those that are joining us
Nice.
for the first time right now in this moment. Hello, welcome. Nice to
Hi.
see you. This is my favorite
Handshake.
horror movie.
Yes.
I needed you to know. It's it just it doesn't have to be like super, like I don't think that it's super aggressively scary, but between like the infuriating gaslighting that happens in this, like it's so it upsets me greatly when people aren't being listened to or are led to believe that like what they're experiencing isn't real. Like that is like very scary to me. And also like, I mean, Mia Farrow's excellent in this movie, and like when she's screaming, like those scenes where she's screaming, it just like it's such like raw intense emotion that also scares me. The sounds she's making like really get under my skin, and like you feel for her. There's just so much like there's so much emotion. I think the other thing that like also gets you is like, you know, it's just a mom that wants to like protect her child, and
Right.
like that, you know, is something that like anyone can get behind. And then the thing that like truly, and we'll, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into in likes and gripes, but I'm going over anyway, is like when she goes to get a second opinion and like returns to her first OBGYN, and like that guy's not evil. Like he's not a bad guy. He's genuinely doing what he thinks is the right move. And as somebody who has newly taken a training on perinatal mental health, um, you know, like I do not blame the the second OBGYN at all. I think that
Really?
like
Okay.
based on how she's presenting, like he only met with her once, And like, there's certainly like mental health things that people can be at risk for during
Very.
pregnancy. So like it it's upsetting because what she is reporting is actually true, and but the way that she's presenting it doesn't seem like it's based in reality. But like I do not fault the obstetrician for like calling her husband
Mm-hmm.
even in her moment of like needing help. And yeah, that it's just like it's so upsetting, that scene. But like that felt truly very real. Like that seemed like
Yeah,
a decision that like made sense in my mind. So
in that moment. Yeah.
for those reasons I find it great and terrifying, and I really enjoy this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just go ahead and get into it with our segment of likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Beautiful gowns. So, of course, this is a I don't know. This is such a standard in the horror movie world, and my first experience with this was uh 3 years ago. I watched this for the first time. In the middle of the night, it was 1 a.m. and it was streaming
Oh.
on something, and I said, "Okay, I just want to start watching this movie." And I didn't realize it's a 2 hour and 15-minute movie, and it goes for 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I was so invested in it that I just stayed up and watched it all the way through and thought to myself, this is wonderful. My anxiety was on 10 the whole time. And just like Jamie said, which is one of the reasons why I love this movie, is that it's not heavy in scares or gore, even though there are some bloody moments. But it truly is you, the as the audience, and this woman going through these experiences in real time, knowing that something is wrong, especially as an audience member, because we know that this is a horror movie. So we know that there is something on the other side of this that is not adding up. And we're figuring it out with her in real time. And the tension of that is so present that I had to know what happened at the end of this. And it's a slow burn, but not in the sense of it's boring until you get to the good parts. From the start, it's just very, and you're invested, especially with the fact that there are murders in the building that have happened and other kooky, spooky things. And so you think, oh, is it going to go that route? Is there something wrong with the building? But it's actually just the, you know, I don't know. Are they technically witches? Are they just followers of Satan? I mean, I guess it is witchcraft, yes, because they have the whole book on witchcraft. But yeah, I love everything about this, especially how it's shot. There was one scene that I thought was really interesting when they were all at the dinner table for the first time at the elderly
Mm,
couple's house. And
sure.
there's this shot where uh, the wife, the elderly wife, I forgot what her name was, and she always says pregnant.
Minnie?
Minnie, yes. And I
She
was
was
just
she won an
laughing.
Oscar for this.
Oh, I mean, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but the shot is her in the forefront and her husband in the back at the dinner table, and she's not doing anything but eating, and he's the one who's carrying the exposition in the story.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like you should be focused on her because she's in the front of the shot. And I
Mm.
just thought that that was really interesting to see, you know, her doing something that's just, a menial whatever. She's just eating. And he's the one who's giving the exposition, but he's not in the forefront of the shot. And I just thought it was really cool that he presented that scene in that way. And yeah, just all of the dream, kind of lucid dreaming that she does, which we find out that she's being drugged. I love, 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 love. us, hearing her kind of snoring, and then you see the vision of her dreams, and then in combination with what's actually happening, and so you don't know what parts necessarily are real and what
Mm-hmm.
aren't real. And I think that was just so spooky to know that in some instances she is asleep but still awake, and so just having that creepiness of hearing her breathing and snoring on top of the dialogue of her dreaming was genius. um I also love the comment about the trope of self-centered actors, and that whole thing. And I'm sure we'll get deeper into that. But watching it, this is actually technically only my second time watching this movie all the way through. But when you watch it a second time, you really see the progression of Guy, the husband,
Mm,
uh when he first talks to Roman. Yeah, I guess his name is Roman, the elderly
Mm-hmm.
man.
yeah.
And his gaslighting trip. And it's you don't think about it at first when you first watch the movie, because you don't know exactly what's happening and who you can trust and who you can. And so also Jamie, when she said the baby would be due on June 28th, I said, no, the baby is a cancer.
I know. I was like, don't say the 23rd. Don't say the 23rd. I don't want to be, this isn't the way I want to find out that I'm,
I
Satan's
know.
child.
You share the same birthday with Satan. That's not cool. Uh and Jamie also touched on this too, just the wild idea of a mother's kind of instincts too at the very end, that even though this baby is not a true human baby, she still has this motherly instinct to care for it. And that in itself is so wild. I wish that we could speak on that more, but we are not parents, so we don't know that life. But yeah, it's interesting to see that and know that that could truly be a real thing because of the maternal instincts that you do have with your child that you birthed out of you. So crazy, crazy, crazy. I don't have many gripes. I don't have gripes about the movie. The gripe is just about the husband, because he is a horrible husband.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessary. I mean, the movie did a great job at presenting
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. I mean, Guy Woodhouse, welcome to the Bad Husbands Hall of Fame. The
oh my
Bad
gosh.
Husband and Boyfriend Horror Hall of Fame includes characters like Micah from Paranormal Activity.
Yes.
But you, my friend, are the worst, hands
Mm-hmm.
down, true award.
Mhm.
Guy Woodhouse, welcome to the
My gosh.
Worst Husband Boyfriend Horror Hall of Fame.
Horror
Worst
Hall of
partner.
Fame. My gosh. Jamie, do you want to go into your likes and gripes of this movie?
Sure. I agree with a lot of what you already said. Those dream sequences are very interesting, especially because I think we very loosely get that Rosemary grew up Catholic. And so
Mm,
there's also a lot of Catholic imagery and references and stuff that are in these dreams, which is very interesting, obviously in contrast with Satan. Um
right.
but so there's that. Something that's a gripe of mine, and I think adding on to Guy being the worst, is generally overall the tone of this is very much infantilizing Rosemary and a
Mm,
lot of the female characters, but especially her. And there's the part about how she, as you said, does not have a job,
mhm,
and so I think, speaking on the time, his at home wife just chilling at home, not doing much. He's the breadwinner, but
mhm,
the part of it I think is happening in the way that he's communicating with her and gaslighting her. But he's also trying, he's bullying her into eating the dessert and trying to make her feel like shit, which is really awful. I forget. Oh, he calls her for he's there's always something, and clearly
yeah.
that sets her off, and that was awful. But yeah, it feels like between obviously like, the relationship with the neighbors as they are elderly and don't have their own children, they like take to Rosemary and Guy and like take them kind of under their wing. But like, yeah, Minnie's overbearing nature is also just like taking this power away from Rosemary and like, yeah, rendering her like a child herself. Um, and like the gaslighting isn't only coming from Guy. The gaslighting
Right.
is also coming from her piece of shit OBGYN, Dr.
God.
Saperstein.
Mm-hmm.
Who's
Dr.
like,
Abraham Saperstein, welcome to the Bad Doctors Horror Hall of Fame.
Yes, absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
who is he joining?
The guy
The
from what was it?
Hypnotic.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Hypnotic and the doctor from with the
They
two
slash
sisters.
them.
No,
Yeah, well, yes.
Oh.
Oh,
yes.
Tales of this The Uninvited.
The Uninvited, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then there's a lot more.
There's so
Yeah,
many.
there's a lot of doctors.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say, Dr. Saperstein, pretty garbagey.
Mhm.
Tells her not to read books. He basically is like isolating her from information and people. Like, don't talk to
Yes.
your friends, don't read books,
Mhm.
ignore all of that. You're totally fine. Even though she describes the pain as like a hook around her insides.
Yes. For
That doesn't sound
months.
fine. For It's like, is it the whole first trimester? It's the entire
Yes,
first
it
trimester,
is. Because she
which
said it
is
started in November and then she had that
nuts.
party in like February. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Um, Wildly upsetting. So yeah, huge gripe. Like how how is this man allowed to be operating in this way? How is there no oversight committee? I don't know how doctorisms work. Like someone keep an eye on this guy because he is
Mhm.
not a good guy. Um
Checks and
so
balances, people.
yeah. So yeah, most of my gripes is just like, I mean, I think it just speaks to like why this movie's so good is like everybody being a garbagey person.
Mhm.
Um, but I really enjoy the way in which Rosemary like gets the information both between Hutch, her like former landlord, RIP, getting
Mm.
the book, being confused about the clue, but I was like yelling out from my couch as I typically do during horror movies, where I was like, why would she think that the book name is the anagram? Like, just like turn the
Mm.
dial up a little bit more on your brain. And then as soon as I said that, she literally was like, oh, let me open up these pages. And I was like, yes, do it, Rosemary. But I love that her first instinct was to like take out Scrabble to like just have all the
Figure it
letters
out.
out and like
Mm.
rearrange them.
Mhm.
I thought that was very clever because I would not do that. I would write it down. I would like
Mhm.
I would do handwritten anagramming.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't actually figure it out because I'm not smart. So all of
You're
that
smart.
That
is
is not
yes.
true.
Yeah,
She's
you're
very
smart.
smart.
um, but yeah, I love all of that. Oh, here's another gripe. This is my last thing. The the one woman who wears the big thick glasses,
Laura
just like
Louise.
Mm.
she's a bitch.
She
I do
is.
not like her. There's like up until this certain point, she's just like there and like not really speaking, but then all of a sudden she's just like very rude.
Mhm.
She's also terrible at keeping this a secret. She's like, oh, don't put the spoon in the
In the
breast
milk.
milk that we're
Yeah.
throwing away. It's just not good for cleaning. I was like, ma'am, like figure your shit out before you
Yes.
start being so awful to her. And then wildly aggressively pushing
The
the
baby
bassinet.
carriage. Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
ooh, nobody rocks a baby like that, even if
Right.
none of them have had their own children. Like, no one's like what are you doing, ma'am? It's like she's never been around any young child or anything before.
Right.
And then gets like real smarmy when Rosemary's like trying to actually be helpful in that moment. Like, why do you care if she's trying to be supportive? Isn't the whole point to like, make sure that the baby is okay, even if it's Adrian, Satan's son.
Right.
And so yeah, and then to top it all off, she sticks her tongue out at
Ugh,
her, which just like makes me really mad. It just like I just
it
I've
was a
had
slap in the
more than a
face.
few, Laura Louise. That's what I have to say about you. Anyway, she's my last gripe.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. Brian.
Okay. Likes. Oh, so I have only seen this once before.
Mm,
And one of my gripes about this movie is I don't remember seeing it the first time in terms of like I don't remember the experience of seeing it the first time, of like like figuring it out along with them, not knowing how it ends. Because this time through, I know how it ends. And it was really fun to watch Guy's journey, like Nikisha mentioned, especially when it's like when Roman first brought it up to him, when they're sitting on that couch, when
hmm
he goes down to them the next night to probably work out the terms of everything, him getting that phone call with the actor going blind, him realizing that like that's their first promise and they're keeping their promises for him to be able to do this. Like I liked watching Guy's journey. I think John Cassavetes does a really good job as Guy in this. Like an excellent job. The only gripe I have with the actual movie, like, is the fact that I don't think they do a good enough job. They don't have to. But I think I would have liked a little bit more explanation about why exactly she jumped from the building.
Mm,
I don't think they ever explicitly say like, "Oh, they were trying to get her to be the mother, and then she didn't want to," or "Oh, they were controlling her, and then Rosemary showed up, and people were like, and the devil was telling them to use her, and so they killed the other." Like, I know that they did. I know that they controlled her to do it. We never find out what's on the note. I'm wondering if like they like paid off the police officer or something like that. Like there's something else
mm.
going on there that interests me, and it's not important. They never discuss it. Regardless, also a gripe is like cops are just like showing the dead body to everybody on the side of the street.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. The 60s
Mm-mm.
were wild, baby. All right. So,
Wild.
likes. I loved Mia Farrow singing the lullaby to open and close the movie. I think it's super creepy and I loved that. Like that sex scene where they're like eating on the floor and then she's like, "Do you want to like do it here?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." It was not sexy at all, and I'm wondering if that was on purpose to just show like that like I don't know. He's also afraid to have a baby because like of his career and he doesn't want to
Right.
like be bogged. I don't know. I thought I was interesting. Um like the quote, "You really should discover the swinging world of Yamaha." Great line.
Oh, from the commercial?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Guy Woodhouse sounds like a porn star name.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely. Yes, yes.
Um
One of them in X. That should have been
Yes.
one of their
Yeah,
names.
yeah, yeah. Like very New York neighbors. And something that I liked about this movie that I don't think was on purpose at all, or maybe it was, and I'm just like really smart. No, but something I really liked about this movie is that Mia Farrow is the only person in this movie giving a naturalistic performance. I feel like she's a real person. I feel like her mannerisms, there's that one scene that she was just like, "Oh, you don't have to go if you don't want to," or something like that. And then she like
Mhm.
stopped, she's like, "You know what? That didn't sound genuine. I actually mean you don't have to go if you don't want to." When they're talking, I forget that scene. I like
Yeah.
that
Go to
scene.
dinner for the first time.
Yeah,
Yes, with the
like
couple. Mhm.
that's so like she's just so wonderfully naturalistic. It doesn't even feel like 60s acting. It feels like this performance could be pulled out of this and put into like a contemporary remake if they ever do that. And like
Mhm.
and it could be like that. Cause I know that um there's that made for TV one with Zoe Saldana. Um and then they're making a prequel to this called like 7A or something like that, the
Yeah.
apartment. Anyway, my point being, um, that I really, because she's so naturalistic in this and everyone's kind of over the top, it actually plays really well with the gaslighting. everyone is
Mhm.
like super over the top in their 60s acting, like the next door neighbor, the friends, even him at some times. Like it's all just kind of like either very bad 60s acting from extras or smaller parts, or like over the top acting, and I feel like that makes her character pop even more, and
Mhm.
as she's the real person who know that is like actually going through these real things, and everyone's lying to her because they're like over the top, and that really worked for
Yes.
me on this second viewing. I don't know, that's a like by accident potentially. um
Yeah.
Another like is Jamie saying during the movie Omaha with that accent.
Oh.
Yeah, Rosemary
Mean.
Not
Rosemary
even
is not from
Omaha.
Omaha with that
Nope.
like very like twiggy accent.
Absolutely. She
Um
is Twiggy.
yeah. Um a gripe, just because it's gross, not necessarily with the movie, is that his excuse for her scratches is that he raped her, and that his excuse for that was he was drunk. It's like
Mhm.
there are other lies you could have told. Like that's not a disgusting, creepy one. Um,
Exactly.
that just like blew my mind in the moment. Um, and it wasn't
Wow.
passed over. It clearly affected her the whole movie and her character, and I didn't feel like it was like a forgotten piece. You know what I mean? It was another straw on the camel's
Yep.
back of these horrible things happening to this poor woman who just happened to be at the wrong place, the wrong time.
Yep.
Um, like I like that she was presented as a smart woman who reads. It's not like she's this naive dummy bummy. She's like clearly a very
Mhm.
smart person who is just like being massaged into doing all these things because they're basically preying on her vulnerability of being pregnant and like wanting to take care of her young. Um,
Mhm.
I think I've said this in previous episodes. I hate movies where people lie to people on purpose. Um,
Yeah.
and this just frustrated me the whole time because I know this is the point of the movie, but like I hate it. Um, the pain be gone. Oh, when she goes, "Pain be gone, I'll have no more of thee."
That was my favorite line. I wrote that down
Oh,
too.
amazing.
Favorite.
Um, I love that she carries a whistle to call cabs.
Oh, Minnie, right?
Yeah, Minnie.
Yeah. Mhm.
I love that someone calls her a dirty dink.
I don't even remember that.
At some point, I don't even remember when.
Oh god.
Um, upsetting that she's telling people about it. I don't know what that means. Uh, the post party scene is the best scene in this movie by far, where where
Mhm.
she's gaunt, sitting in the middle of the celebration cleanup. She's just so disgustingly gaunt. It's like very uncomfortable, and he's just like freaking out that she wants to see another doctor, and she has like no autonomy in the situation. It's very upsetting. Um,
Yeah.
this doesn't work in a contemporary setting because she would hop on the computer in a second. Um,
Oh, of course.
oh, Dr. Hill is the only other character that I felt was a real person, Charles Grodin's character, who like was
Mhm.
actually like playing a real person and not this over the top person who was genuinely listening to her. So when like Jamie said, when he does turn her over to like it's like even more upsetting because I feel like it's the first time she's on the same page, even acting wise, as someone else where it's not over the top. Um,
Mhm.
Someone says I'm on it. I don't know. Screaming under herself. Oh, when you hear the screaming and it's like she keeps screaming under herself while she's in a calm state in the next scene. That was just like
Mm.
the sound design there was goosebump inducing. Um how did they sneak in with all those shelves? Every single time they had to remove those shelves, remove the that's a gripe. Remove the
The
towels
towels,
and
yes.
like insane to me.
Wait,
Oh
you think that's what was happening? No, Guy was in on it. He just had to let them in the door.
no, but they had to be sneaking in when he wasn't home and
When?
doing things. I can't think of examples, but at the end, but even at the end, where
Oh, when
where
she was having flashbacks of when she was going through the door and then she was walking past the pictures, and then the sound of when they first like brought her in and raped her, she was like recounting those sounds. So it felt like they did take her through that little doorway, right?
I
I
don't
don't know.
think they know that was in their home. That everyone came into her
Mm,
home.
Yeah.
right.
Anyway, if they were to sneak in, especially like at the end when she locked them out, there's just a lot of towels and shelves to move. But I think you're right. Okay. Didn't think about that part. Gripe me overthinking that. Um, like the greatest line in the movie. I'm sorry, Nikisha. This is the greatest line in the movie. Shut up. You're in Dubrovnik. I don't hear you.
Oh, that was great.
I do like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another like when she drops the knife and like the knife lands in the wood, the mini pulls the knife out and then like checks the wood. Most New York thing of all time. I absolutely loved that moment. The woman in glasses, Laura Louise, is also on my gripes list. When she spit in his face, a fucking man.
Yes.
Um, and then my another like is this does not feel like a 2+ hour movie. It is engaging and heart wrenching the entire time. Um, and then another like an obvious like I like that they don't show you the baby at the end. It's all up. They talk about what's wrong with it or what's different about it. And then
Hmm.
like I like that despite all of this, her motherly instincts kick in with the rocking of it. So those are I know you mentioned a little bit of that.
Mm.
But yeah, those are my likes and gripes. I really wish I had. This is a movie that I would put on the I wish I could watch it for the first time again list.
Yeah, because it is different when you do watch it
Yeah.
again. But the first time is always, whew, so crazy. Beautiful. Well, let's go into some brains.
Brains.
Love this because
Mm.
whew, so many things wrong with this movie, and what we've been saying this whole time is the gaslighting of it all. So Jamie, I'm going to throw out a couple of things, and then you just go to town on what you want to discuss
Pa, pa, pa.
about these things. So just give us the general gist of gaslighting. How can someone recognize when they've been gaslit? Why do people gaslight each other? Is that a characteristic of a certain personality type? Like, are narcissists, is gaslighting a part of someone who's a narcissist or whatever the case may be? But yeah, just give us everything about gaslighting.
Wait, Nikisha did say general gist, so I have to do general gist. Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, great. Love it.
Oh boy. Okay, so gaslighting. What is it? This would fall under the bucket. This is a bucket
Bucket.
of like emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um the idea, I mean not the idea, what it is the psychological manipulation of a person usually over an extended period of time that causes the victim to question the validity of their own thoughts, perception of reality, or memories, and typically leads to confusion, loss of confidence and self esteem, uncertainty of one's emotional or mental stability, and a dependency on the perpetrator.
Mm.
So they are misled by an abuser or a bully, and they are led to question and doubt their own judgment, reality, perception of what's going on them. They might even feel like they are losing their sanity.
Mm.
Um, so, I mean, gaslighting, what it looks like is it can look a lot of different ways. It could be, a very blatant, like you describe an experience that you had and they're like, no, that didn't happen, or like you're making that up, or
Mm.
this it wasn't that bad, you're crazy, things like that, where it's just downplaying what your experience was like through lies or distorting reality. They might say to others that you are not doing well. So like in this, does the other is it when the other OBGYN calls Guy, and Dr. Saperstein and Guy come to pick her up when she's like waking up from her slumber, like I forget exactly what they say, but I feel like they discredit her essentially to the doctor.
Yeah.
so that the doctor feels like affirmed in having made the right choice, but in reality, he didn't. Um, you know, changing the subject on you so that you're not able to like continue the conversation about what what's coming up for you. If you call somebody out and they like try to change the subject, then like you're never really resolving, the thing that they were lying to you about.
Mm.
um Minimizing, again, like kind of similar to what I said before about like, oh, you're overreacting, it wasn't as bad as you thought, why are you so sensitive? All of that's minimizing how you were feeling. And like the opposite of being validating, it's invalidating your feelings. And it, you feel misunderstood. And like you feel wrong. um
Yeah.
Shifting blame. So if only you had acted differently, then none of this would have happened.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yeah. So like just not being able to like take ownership for their own actions and then like putting that on you. Even though however you are reacting is probably a consequence to how the abuser initiated something, which is
Yes.
something that I have often reminded folks of, is like, well, why did you do XYZ thing? Like, where did that come from? Like, what was there like something that precedented a precedent preceded
Yes.
whatever the pre-word is. Did something happen before?
Yeah.
um that's English, baby. Yeah, so like a lot. Rewriting history. If they revisit this series of events, they might say it in a different way where it's not actually what happened. Again, you might doubt your own, like trying to recall what happened based on how somebody else has like described it.
Mm.
Or often people will use their affection as a way to minimize the impact of a behavior of like, oh, I love you so much, I would never hurt you on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, where again it seems like they are kind of taking accepted responsibility and like accountability for their actions, but it's not really. They're actually like avoiding it. Because again, like if they did genuinely love you, then they wouldn't be doing this to you in the first place.
Ah.
So those are several examples of what gaslighting can look like.
Mm-hmm.
Which again, I think we see a lot of that in this, whether it's like the scene of her describing how much pain she's been in for an entire trimester and
Mm-hmm.
saying that she's like demanding to get a second opinion, and Guy is minimizing what her experience is and saying that it's not so bad, saying that she should just trust the doctor because
Gosh.
he
Yeah.
knows better. Like
Can I
that whole
just
scene. Oh, sorry.
No, 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 sorry. I just want to piggyback on that and say that it is frustrating because even nowadays, there is the instance of women, especially in medical situations, not being believed for the pain
Mm-hmm.
levels that
Mm-hmm.
they have, mostly because a lot of research that is done medically, and of course, I'm so far away from this, I don't know the full extent of it, but just hearing people talk about it and hearing about research, and it's not necessarily a lot of women that are being researched in order to
Mm-hmm.
get some conclusions about certain medical things. So when women do come in and have certain issues, it's dismissed often, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just interesting that it's so present in this movie, and it's something that we're still kind of struggling with even today because there's not a lot of research on different pains within the female body, especially premenopausal women, and it's frustrating. Sorry, I just wanted to add that. Keep going.
No, I mean that's a very good point, and like it's often like women of color that are hurt the most,
Hmm.
because there is this like disregard for you know for women of color
Hmm.
generally. But yeah, this like dismissing of how somebody is like presenting information on the their physical symptoms, and like
Yeah.
you know, again, like, sure, you're a doctor, but what does it take for you to like actually validate and affirm that like what someone is experiencing is real, and
Right.
like it's not hard to empathize with people, at least in my opinion. It's not. Maybe it is hard for
Yeah,
some
some
people.
bedside manner would be great, guys.
It's
Like, come on.
great. Um, but yeah, so if you are unsure if you are being gaslit, some signs that you might have experienced include doubting yourself, doubting your reality, like questioning your perception of things, feeling really insecure, feeling like you're walking on eggshells around your partner, feeling alone, feeling like if you are internalizing that you are strange or crazy or
Mhm.
unstable because your partner has said that about you, but you're like not totally sure on that. Yeah, just like wondering if the things make you feel like you're wrong, or yeah, or insane, or like whatever, again, like language that a perpetrator has used. You like feel like you are more passive and that you used to be stronger and more assertive.
Mm,
You might feel
that's good.
confused, you worry that you're too sensitive. um all of these things, like just not trusting yourself. These could potentially be signs that you are experiencing someone who's gaslighting you. And more often than not, you know, a lot of these examples come from intimate partner violence, but it's not to say that other people cannot manipulate and gaslight you. There are certainly other relationships, familial friendships, that
Mm,
can also, like there can, like people can gaslight anybody, or you can be gaslit by
yeah.
anybody. So that's just something to put out there. But I would say most anecdotes exist within intimate partner violence.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things you also asked is like, are there certain characteristics of somebody who would be likely to gaslight someone?
Mhm.
And I think you were asking, at least based on how we've kind of explored like the DSM and maybe
Yeah.
personality disorders, it seemed in line with that. And I would say, like, you know, you're right in that like probably something that would align with like a narcissistic personality disorder or personality type characteristics. Antisocial, as we've talked a lot about.
Mm, mhm.
um and I do think that, like, you know, it might be a trait that falls under someone who's like experiencing like borderline personality disorder. But again, I say this
Huh.
all with a grain of salt because, um you know, everybody experiences these things differently, and like not everybody is a cookie cutter same thing. And
Of
so like
course.
I'm very clearly not saying that like all people who experience borderline personality characteristics are manipulating and gaslighting
Right.
people.
Of course. Of course.
um so yeah, what are things, I think it's also important to talk about what are things that you can do if you are being gaslit.
Yes.
Because it is helpful to, like, you know, try to perceive what's like happening to you, and then how you can try to protect yourself from it. So it's not all just like saying scary things, but hopefully we can be
Right.
helpful here.
Right.
um so sometimes, like, if you can kind of create distance between yourself and a perpetrator, it's just helpful to like help you regain perspective, so that like the the strongest voice that you're hearing isn't just coming from like outside of you, but that like
Yeah.
you are able to kind of reconnect with yourself. If you're able to kind of ground yourself too, just so that you're able to kind of manage some intense emotions that might come out in these situations. um if you are able to collect any evidence that helps like assert your reality and helps you like reaffirm that what you experienced actually happened. And that can look like anything, because I imagine a lot of these might look like conversations. So like if any of these conversations exist in text messages or like
Mm,
other kinds of like documented places, keep those, keep phone calls, keep voicemails. I've worked with so many people who had like slews of voicemails from abusive
wow.
perpetrators, and like all of that was, you know, like used for criminal cases and the like. So like, you know, both for legal reasons, but also I think like, you know, for yourself of reminding yourself that like this, no, this really happened, because like here's like the concrete objective evidence of this thing happening. And like, even though they said after that like it was an accident, they didn't really mean for it to happen, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize, I'm using very gendered language and I shouldn't be, because IPV can affect everyone, and like again,
Yes.
anybody can be manipulative and gaslight you or anyone else, not just you, listener. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But so yeah, like just having evidence is a way to like, you know, feel more solid in your reality of what actually happened.
Yeah.
And again, distance, you know, physically distancing yourself, but also like setting boundaries, constantly, you know, coming to a space where you're like, this is not okay, you can't talk to me this way, this is not okay, like I'm not going to be treated this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you can have your own belief about what happened, but this is my belief, and like you're not changing my belief, it belongs to me.
Yeah.
So, you know, setting a boundary in a relationship that doesn't allow for your reality to be denied and your experiences to be denied and trivialized. Having a support system, like something that unfortunately happens, you know, within intimate partner violence, is sometimes a loss of a support system. So like if you're able to maintain connections, if you're able to maintain, like whether it's family, whether it's friends, anybody that you trust, being able to go to them and also get perspective on what's happened can be really helpful. Again, to help you like clarify your reality. So those
Yeah.
are just some examples of things to protect yourself against gaslighting.
Absolutely. Uh, quick question. Can you gaslight yourself? And how do you figure that shit out?
I mean, I don't know if I would say that you're gaslighting yourself, because I think the intention is like trying to intentionally change, like make yourself change how you're believing something or not believing something.
Yeah.
I think that there's situations that we maybe don't always trust our own intuition.
Yes.
But I don't think that we're intentionally, I don't think that we can. I don't know,
Okay.
maybe I'm
Fair.
wrong, but I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think of like what that looks like. Because even the, I think if I am not mistaken, well, according to this very well minds article that I'm staring at, the term gaslighting comes from an Alfred Hitchcock film, Gaslight, where a
Hmm.
manipulative husband is trying to make his wife think that she's losing her mind by like changing her environment and
Mm.
also like you know, exerting power and control.
Right.
And so like the resulting is second guessing herself and her feelings and all of those things. We can second guess ourselves all the time. I certainly am very guilty of it all the time. But I wouldn't say that that's necessarily gaslighting. I would probably put that more under the bucket of like analysis paralysis, or like you know, like just
Okay.
having a hard time trusting our own gut, and like, you
Yes.
know, figuring out like what do I need to do in order to like trust myself more, and like, you know, feel like I'm making decisions that are true to myself.
Mm. That's fair.
Yeah.
So just a thing there. Gaslight is not a Hitchcock movie, um,
Mm.
but it is always it's weird. It's this like what is it called? The Berenstein Bear thing, like Mandela effect or
Oh, the
whatever it
Mandela
is.
effect. Yeah.
People always say that it's a Hitchcock movie because it feels like a Hitchcock movie, but it's actually not a Hitchcock movie. Um,
Wow. Was I just gaslit by verywellmind.com?
yeah, I think so.
Ooh.
Um, but yeah, Gaslight. I think she won the Academy. Ingrid Bergman, I think, won the Academy Award for that movie.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
Anyway, I have a question for you, Nikisha.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're an actress. Guy is an actor. Would
God.
you would you sell out your loved one to get that fame? Because I would just like to put it on the record here in podcast world. I would not gaslight Jamie and give away our firstborn for this
Oh
podcast to
gosh.
be the most popular podcast. Um,
Wow, that was very
That
specific,
was
and
very
now I
specific.
am
Jamie,
now I'm worried.
you don't have anything to worry about because you already got that ring, girl. So
Well,
it's
so did
fine.
she, but I would never gaslight her. Like, joking aside, I would not do anything like that.
Yes.
Mhm, mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
now, now I'm sweating. No, I would not do anything like that. Um, but
Yeah.
would you gaslight a loved one
But would
to?
I?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would.
yeah.
But would you,
But
Nikisha?
would
That's the
you do it?
would you do it? Well, first off, Brian, I have to have a loved one to gaslit. So let's just start there. Okay. Let's put somebody in front of me and then see what would
Wow.
happen. No, I mean, and it's so funny because the whole trope of the self-centered actor and whatever, getting your rocks off, doing, being the center of attention and all that, like, that's not not my vibe. I am a very introverted person by nature, and it's a miracle that I even like want to step foot in front of people and do anything. But it's truly, it's about the art, and also there's so many other things to do. It's not that serious. I mean, we're all going to end up in a grave anyway, so what's truly the point? The point is that I would not in any instance do anything. I mean, it's like what was the movie Starry Eyes, and that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
spiel of what would you do to get success, because half the time people who are at the top have the most miserable time anyway. I'm not trying to go out like that. Let me
It's
just have a good
also
time making some money doing what I love, and that's it.
that sounds great. So just to clarify, the answer is no, you wouldn't.
The answer is no.
Great.
Yes, I would not. No, I'll find something else to do. If I'm not successful in an acting career, there's plenty of other things. I'll go to school and become like Jamie and talk to people about their mental health issues,
I
but
love it.
it's
It's
not
also
worth it, man.
no, it's also wild that cults really go after actors in these movies.
It's
Oh,
so
just like
wild.
real
Even
life.
Nexium, like if you watch The Vow.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Mhm.
That shit was
Anyway,
wild.
I know.
But
I have
that's a whole
one.
nother conversation.
That's a whole nother. We could do a whole thing on that. I have another
Yes.
question for you to. Um, this is more meta, I guess, or not. We discussed Roman Polanski being a criminal and a disgusting human being. But we love this movie. Like this is an incredible film.
Yeah.
How do you or what are your thoughts on separating art from the artist? You know, you know, we even saw that. I mean, Mia Farrow, who's been involved with a lot of people who have turned out to be disgusting humans, like a Woody Allen type, Roman
Mm.
Polanski, Cosby, Michael Jackson. Like, there's a lot of these artists in our lives who like brought us great joy, and their art still does. However, how do we separate those two things? I'll just keep it open ended for either of you to discuss that.
Yeah, and Bill Cosby was the first person that popped up into my brain. And then when you said Michael Jackson, that's also true too, especially because they kind of lean into that in the Michael Jackson musical, of separating the artist and the work. And the same thing with like R. Kelly, which whew, was a whole thing. I think that people who do awful things should, there are consequences for your actions, and people who do those bad things need to be prosecuted for those specific things, no question, you know. And I think when justice is served in that way, when you know that what they did, they are being um, punished for that or convicted in the right way for that, that is justice in itself, to say, okay, I can appreciate what you've done, what you have done that has brought joy, that has been, especially Bill Cosby, and for the Black community, what he has done in that respect. he has helped elevate the Black community, but he still needs to be convicted for his actions. And I think that when that happens, we can have that justice and still enjoy what he's done for the community, but also realize that him as a person, he needs to be punished for those actions. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. There's with this movie, this is a great cultural movie for the horror genre, and we all appreciate it and we love it, but this man is awful and terrible, and um we need to acknowledge that. And with the whole Oscar thing too, I don't know why they should have taken his Oscar away from him, because he's not a great person. Why would you hold him on this pedestal in that
Mm-hmm.
way with these awards, with these things, when he is not when he's done awful things? Take it away. Take the whole thing away, you know. Uh yeah, that's how I feel. Jamie?
Yeah, I think that like cuz I think about, it's one person doing something that's like so abominable, but like it's never just one person who's like involved in all of these in like all of these things that people are creating. And so it's like
Mm,
it's so frustrating to kind of like, internally make a decision of do I like avoid this thing because someone who's involved in it is like a terrible person, and like they shouldn't be able to profit off of anything because of like the
mm,
pain that they've caused people. But also, like, these things aren't happening in a vacuum. There's so many other people who like don't condone these things that have helped create these things. And like, do they like those are the questions that run through my head of like, do they also like deserve to be penalized through no fault of their own? Because, and that's
mm,
also not the case 100% of the time, because like there are people like, I don't understand how oh my god, I like forgot his name because I blocked it out of my head. Oh, I okay. I'm putting it out there. I don't like Chris Brown. I don't
mm.
understand how Chris Brown keeps getting to make music and why
Yeah.
people want to continue collaborating with Chris Brown. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. You are all
Yep.
entitled to your separate opinion. But like something like that where it's like if you as a musician are like agreeing to keep working with someone that like has done something awful, like that makes me question you as well. But
Mhm.
that's not always the case, that like someone is knowingly working with someone or working with someone that they knowingly know has done or is doing something terribly. And so like those are really the moments that I like, internally struggle with of like, do I want to like avoid this thing because I also like I want to support the other people who help create these things.
Yeah.
um and I think that it is like, I think in those situations like it is way more complicated, and like it's important to like have the conversations about it and
Mhm.
like not avoid the topics. So yeah, I don't have a perfect answer because like I don't think there is one.
It's very
I think
nuanced. Yeah.
context is like, yeah, it's super nuanced. I think context is really important when like making those decisions. But yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
I mean, it's complicated. I think I take it situation by situation. Part of me
Yeah.
tricks myself, like you said, Jamie, a little bit. Like I trick myself to be like, just Roman Polanski didn't make this movie. Mia Farrow's
Mm,
performance makes this movie. The sound design makes this movie. There are so
Mhm.
many people in this movie and worked in the cast and the crew that like, even though this is technically his vision and he helped write the script and all that, like, there's other things about this. Someone like Woody Allen, I just don't rewatch his movies anymore. I like
Mm.
Woody Allen. I like some of the stuff. Also, some of the stuff is super creepy if you watch it, like with different context layered over it. Um, like that just doesn't interest me. Like, do I still listen to Michael Jackson songs? Like, I don't watch the
Yeah.
Cosby Show reruns anymore or anything like that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It just like, oh, like perfect example. Like, I'll watch the X-Men movies again. but Bryan Singer's a creep show.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
but like, I'm not gonna like, you know, it just, I don't know. I'm a hypocrite, and I'm conflicted. It depends on certain things. Like, like there's some like, you know like you know you also look at politicians, like, like,
Yeah.
and you can go into historical figures and stuff like that. Like this like,
Absolutely.
I mean, all of them. Like, even Benjamin Franklin was a creep, and like,
Yeah.
but like, if I needed glasses, like, I would still wear bifocals. You know what I mean? Like like, it's like so it's just a
Right.
stupid
Yeah.
one. That's my
But it's
example. Yeah, that's not. But you don't.
Why? Why was that the one that came to
I don't know. I
mind?
don't know.
Ah.
But my point is that it is,
Well, I guess I can't wear bifocals anymore. Now
yeah.
I'm glassesless
Mhm.
Jamie.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm a hypocrite, but I take it situation by situation. It also depends on how much I like the art and the content they're creating. Like,
Yeah.
but there, but also there's a way now to get things for free. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are ways for me to go around paying for something if I don't want to give
Yeah.
money to like someone's estate or whatever it may be. Does that mean, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean?
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
I'm not directly like, but like, again, that's a hypocrite because like, I pay for Amazon, and that, where oh, we watch this on Showtime. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm watching all
Yep.
these things. Like, listen, I still go to, like, I shop at the Home Depot, and I know that they're Republican and gave to Trump's like thing, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go to
yeah,
Lowe's.
I know we have to go to Lowe's, but like, like, there's things that are just like, I need to be better about like doing some of the research. It's like, did you watch The Good Place?
Yes.
Yeah, The Good Place is the perfect example. Nobody could spoiler alert for The Good Place.
Yeah.
No one could
Mhm.
go to heaven anymore because, anything you do is linked to something bad. You buy
Yep.
a paperclip from this company gave to this company covered up this, like, all of, like,
Yep.
there's just no way around it. It's really difficult unless you live in the woods and like, just like, you can't be, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
long story short, it's complicated. I'm a hypocrite when it comes to certain things. I just take it situation by situation, realistically.
Yeah.
But I acknowledge that like, this person is bad. I'm happy to have a conversation about how bad this person is. I still like
Yeah.
the way the art makes me feel.
For sure. The same with
Mm.
Hamilton. They had a whole thing of changing Thomas Jefferson's song because he's talking about Sally, who was a slave that he had relations with. And when we came back from the pandemic, it was a whole thing of changing that number and putting something in the programs now about Sally and who she was to acknowledge her presence in Jefferson's life. And it's just, but like you said, Brian, all those people were not 1,000%
Yeah.
great, but we acknowledge what this musical is doing for people of color as far as giving them job opportunities and putting and the things that, especially, oh my god, with that whole church situation, the
Oh
Hamilton church
yeah.
thing, which I
Ooh.
thought was a great thing that the Hamilton team did as far as taking all of those proceeds that are taking that money from the church and giving to the LGBT Q plus community in Texas. So yeah, but Brian, you're exactly right. The Good Place is the perfect example. Everything you do is linked to something, so you just have to kind of go. You have to go with your own convictions, and yeah, that is that. Cool. So, are we ready to Rotten Tomatoes this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Yeah.
Okay. Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, what do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? Jamie, why don't you guess first?
I'm gonna guess a 93.
All right. Nikisha, what are you going to
I'm
guess?
in 90.
Okay. Rosemary's Baby has a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yay!
Although the audience score is an 87%. Again, there are only 78 reviews listed for this one. And then there are over 50,000 for the audience score. But the critics' consensus is a frightening tale of Satanism and pregnancy that is even more disturbing than it sounds, thanks to convincing and committed performances by Mia Farrow and Ruth Gordon.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's good
Definitely.
stuff.
This movie, man, this movie just hits harder every single, like, as
Yeah.
all the world keeps crumbling around us, like, this movie is kind of a perfect microcosm for everything in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, on that note, let's do the 4 S's.
Woohoo!
Yes.
Sa, 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 sa.
Skull, Scare, Shakes, and Suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
The 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. We're going to start with the first 3, rank them 1 through 10, and then we'll give our suggestions. Jamie, why don't you start with this one?
Sure thing. I for skulls, I am giving this I don't like all of my original scores, so I'm gonna up all of them. For skulls, I'm giving this a 7. Because I believe in nosy neighbors. I believe in doctors just thinking they're doing the right thing. And I have seen and experienced being gaslit. So, like, I feel like there's a lot of reality in how people are acting.
Go show.
Maybe, with a few grains of salt. For scares, I'm giving this a 5. Because again, like it just like it feels so real in what she's experiencing, and like gaslighting is very real and very scary,
Yes.
especially if you're experiencing it and you're not sure what's happening to you. It's very, very scary. For shakes, I mean, I'm gonna give it a 9. I haven't forgotten this movie since I first saw it in high school, and I don't think I'll ever forget this movie.
Yeah.
And only a 9, you are tough. You're a tough cookie.
Sorry, I'm so hard on these movies.
Nikisha?
Should I give it a 10? I don't know.
No, it's up to you.
Skulls, I'm gonna give a 7. For the same reasons Jamie was talking about. I'm also gonna give a 5 for scares. And I'm gonna give an 8 for shakes. I guess I'm hardcore too. As
Y'all
far, but it's a
crazy.
great movie.
Skulls, I'm giving it an 8. I just, especially with the dreams, and you mentioned, like, just like those little tidbits of Catholicism that she has in there, and just like really watching how someone can get gaslit like step by step is like terrifying. So also going into scares, I'm giving it a 6. Um, because of all the gaslighting. Like, I think I just wanted to tip it 1 over the midway mark at 5, and then shakes. This is a 10. This is a solid 10. I don't think you get much better than this, really, when it comes to movies like this. I feel like this set the standard for a lot of the bad versions of the gaslighting and stuff that we see
Yeah,
in this, with the friend who figures it out but like dies before they can tell you, and then like,
always.
like, and then the twisted. I just think this is a solid 10. Cool. Let's go through suggestions. Jamie, you want to throw out some of those suggestion nuggets? I don't know why I said it like that.
Didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I only did one for this week. So my suggestion, similar kind of tone, vibe, also similar like satanic panic. I have a real I really like this particular subgenre. The OG Omen.
Yeah,
Little
good one.
Damien,
Little
he
Damien.
something ain't right with him.
That's a
So
good one.
Yeah.
yeah, I love this movie.
Nikisha, what do you got?
I got Midsummer for gaslighting
Good
and
one.
Ooh,
all things woman in pain. Nobody believe in her.
Awesome.
it's good.
Yeah.
I went with The Invisible Woman.
Also
Um,
great.
or The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Sorry, The Invisible Man. I keep calling it The
But
Invisible
yes.
Woman, but it's The Invisible Man with
yeah, you can see her.
you can see her gaslighting, people not believing her, and then her kind of having to figure out herself and taking this into her own hands. That's what I went with. The remake of the
Yeah.
Invisible Man with what's her name?
Yeah.
Um,
Handmaid's Own.
why can't I think of her name in this moment?
I can't either.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Moss. Thank you. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I
Cool.
was like,
Alfred.
Elizabeth Branch? Elizabeth Tree? That's what my brain was going through.
Nice.
Yeah, Elizabeth Pile of Leaves.
On that note, that ends our episode of Rosemary's Baby. You can follow us on all of the social medias on Instagram and TikTok, and now on the YouTubes. Hi guys, what's up?
Hi.
Looking at us. We're looking at you. And Brian, where can they listen to us?
Sure, they can listen to us wherever you get podcasts, including things like Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and of course Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank
thank
you.
Also, in all seriousness, rating us and reviewing us on there, really helps us to get found. We're having a really excellent time doing this. We hope that you're enjoying it as well. So we would really appreciate all of those things. Thank you.
Beautiful. And Brian, what's the quote that we're ending on? Your favorite one next to the pain one.
Shut up, you're in Dubrovnik. I don't hear you. But also, you really should discover the swinging world of Yamaha.
Oh,
Pain be gone. I'll
Yamaha.
have no more of thee. But yeah, you shut up. You're in Dubrovnik. I don't hear you. Is a true classic line.
I mean, she just gives it right off the top. It's
She
wonderful.
she
Wonderful
doesn't
execution.
even hesitate.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That's wonderful.
Oh wait, has anyone here read the
Beautiful.
book?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We can end it there. No, I hadn't read it either. I'm just curious.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.